Hi, everybody. This is Trey Stewart, Republican leader in the Maine State Senate, joined today for another edition of the Republican Vision series by my friend and colleague, Matt Harrington, who serves as the Assistant Republican leader and also serves on the Energy, Utilities, and Technology Committee. Matt, thanks for being here today.
Yeah, good to be here and excited to talk about energy. It's an important topic.
So, Matt, yesterday the Democrats here in Augusta held a press conference about affordability. Sounds like their polling is telling them that they need to be talking about that more often in an election year. But you and I both know that that couldn't be the farthest thing from the truth with regard to what it is that the Democrats are actually doing here in Augusta. So tell us all a little bit about what's happening, particularly in the energy sector and energy committee.
Every election season, the Democrats get out and they, once again, pretend to care about electricity prices when every time they get reelected, they come back and their policies do the complete opposite of that. And we saw that yesterday with their press conference. With an act for energy fairness. They're really good at creating bills with great titles that they can go out and tout that they, really are doing something and really care about your electricity bill. But the policies don't match up to that. And I think that's what we see every election cycle. Republicans constantly put things forward that are actually going to address that, and they get defeated along party lines. And I hope the people of Maine are seeing that and are paying attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, that bill quite literally does nothing. It's a request for a report, and yet the title's catchy, right? So that's how they're going to be drawing people in. And yet, there's a good argument to be made that it actually makes energy more expensive here in the state of Maine. But talk to us a bit about some of the efforts that Republicans have been putting forward this session in contrast to Democrats. What are Republican priorities as it relates to energy here in the state of Maine?
We've consistently been putting bills in to roll back the net energy billing program. Constantly are met with partisan opposition to that. Last year they passed what they're going to tout as a massive reform to net energy billing, but it saves a fraction of what we could be saving, to the tune of, over $220 million a year, and they're really patting themselves on the back that they're going to save ratepayers, $70 million of that. We need to be looking at, full repeal of net energy billing and save the Maine people all $220 million that are being added to their electric bills to cover that program.
So that's an example of what a state can do to become more competitive. It sounds like the first thing is, right, stop the bleed, right? Stop subsidizing and losing these funds that are paid for by ratepayers. But long term, let's talk about what the Republican vision is for energy and our future as a state. If Republicans were in control, what are the things that we would be doing? Where would we be sending that part of our economy as it relates to public policy? What are some levers we can pull here?
I think the first thing we need to do is, break away from this climate green agenda that is driving electricity prices so high. I think, what we're seeing in Maine is a climate first model, and I think Republicans would put an affordability first model. If renewable energy is the most cost-effective way to bring energy to Maine, I'm all on board, but that is not the case. And we need to put affordability first. The most cost-effective, energy measures should be the ones that we're using. And that's not what we're seeing. We're seeing, policies that are being driven for wind and solar that are driving up costs. And, we should be looking at expanding hydro and looking at, new emerging technologies like nuclear and, hydrogen fuel cell. And there's a lot of different options that we could be looking at that could drive down costs.
So a lot of these same people that oppose common sense things like increasing the volume of cheap, clean forms of energy, like hydro, like nuclear, are also the ones who are putting forward and really pushing wind and solar across New England states. So what are you seeing from your vantage point there?
Well, I think, if we're going to reduce costs, and, the Democrats in Maine and across New England and across the country like to constantly point to the price of natural gas. I think one of the biggest things we could do in Maine in conjunction with other blue states would be to expand the pipeline capacity for natural gas into New England. And, that would lower costs for heating, that would lower costs for our industrial users, and that would lower costs for electricity. And they constantly go back to the price of natural gas, but that too can be corrected, and that too is being driven by Democrat policies in other Democrat states.
Senator Harrington, thank you for joining us this week to talk about the contrast between Republicans and Democrats here in Augusta on energy policy. Thanks for fighting the good fight down in the Energy Committee. We appreciate all your work there, and thanks for being with us this week.
Yeah, thank you. And I hope the people of Maine see that Republicans are fighting for them with real policy changes, not just words.